I've got a cabinet. It's full of paints and stains and polyurethanes. The problem is, I can never really see what's beyond the first row. I also have this fold-down work table. It's really efficient, but it's far from a thing of beauty. Maybe I can create a cabinet that covers up the workbench and organizes all my paints and stains. Stay tuned. I'll show you how to do this. I've got some nice overhead cabinets that I built for my shop here. In this particular cabinet here, I store a lot of paint and stains and so forth. The problem is that this goes back pretty deep and I can't see what's going on behind all of this stuff in front. So I've got several different kinds of stains in there. Whenever I want to look for a different stain or a paint, I have to get up there and shuffle them around to try to figure out which one I want and get it down. So it's just a little bit difficult to deal with. But I've got an idea to do something about that. So I've got this fold-down table that I showed you how to make in a different video, and I will reference that video up above. And my thinking is that I can't use this space anyway because it's got to come down. But what I could do is to box in this fold-down table all the way around and then build another door here so I can open that door, and inside that door when I opened it would be shelves that I could store all my paints and stains and so forth in small cans, and I could see what I have immediately. So that's our project for today. First I mounted a 2x4 by screwing it into the studs above my folding table. This would give me something sturdy to hang my cabinet box on. After cutting the 1x6 board to the lengths that I needed for my cabinet box, I then took the top and bottom boards and put 3 pocket holes on each side of those boards to be able to screw to the sides to make my box. I built a frame around my fold-down table. It'll hang on the 2x4 that I put above the table. So after I put my door with the shelves on here, my table can still come up and down once I open the door to the shelves. So for our next phase will be to build the outside box for our door that will open like this, and then the shelves will be inside. I want the shelves to be adjustable, so I used the Craig shelf pin jig to put pinholes on the inside of both upright portions of the doors. Okay, we have our base completed. It's this part here, and then this part here will be the door on the front with the shelves. The next step, I'm going to go ahead and fit the hardware, the 3 hinges on here. So when I'm ready to put it up, I'll put this piece up first, and then I'll have all my holes drilled and everything. That'll make it easier to put this piece up second. I positioned the hinges where I wanted them. I put one 6 inches from the top, 6 inches from the bottom, and then one in the middle. Now I'm going to mark where I want to drill a few pilot holes for the screws. And we will go ahead and put the screws in the bottom part of our hinge. We're just putting these in temporarily, and because we'll remove the hinges again before we make the final product. So the hinges are in place. That's how our door will open. Looks like it's going to work great. It'll open all the way out to the wall behind it, so it'll be out of the way when I'm working. So far, so good. The front of our door will be 1/4 inch sanded plywood. So I can cut it down to where there'll be 1/4 inch overlap on all sides. And then I'll come back with a trim router and cut it off flush to the door. Our face boards are cut with roughly 1/4 inch overlap on each side. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to glue these face boards to the frame, and then we will put some brad nails in here to fix it tight. And we may come back and just put a few screws in the corners for extra strength after it's all glued in. So we've put the glue on our frame. We have glued the face down onto the frame. And what we're going to do now, I put some clamps on here to hold it. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to put some brad nails in. I'm fortunate enough to have a brad nail gun. If you don't have one of these, just use a hammer and some small nails, or you could even use screws. In this next step, we'll use the trim router with the flush mount bit on there that will make the top of this then perfectly even with the sides. For a little extra stability and rigidity, I'm putting 4 screws or 2 screws in each corner. So I got some 3-inch and 2-inch corner braces. So the next step will be to attach the 3-inch corner braces to the top and the 2-inch corner braces to the bottom. So we attached our frame with the L brackets, both at the bottom and at the top. And of course at the top, it's also held by the fact that it hangs on that 2x4 up there. I picked the door up, reattached the hinges, and there we go. So we've got our, we now have enclosed our fold down workbench, and we'll start putting some shelves on the inside there. I'll put some trim here to cover up the line where I had to join the 2 pieces of board together. But so far, it's looking pretty good. Now to make some shelves. I also added 1 cross brace here behind that seam for these 2 boards, and to give just a little extra structure on the inside as well. So we put our shelf pins in the door. And I'm starting to cut the shelves to fit in the door. But what I don't want to have happen is when I open the door, I don't want these sliding out. So what we're going to do is use the router, and we're just going to put a couple of notches in here so when they sit on these shelf pins, they won't slide around. So there's our little notches that we cut in there with the router. You wouldn't have to use a router. You could use a chisel if you didn't have a router. All right, it's time to put our shelves in. I cut most of my shelves at 3.5 inches, which is exactly the same width as the sideboards. This bottom board down here, because the cans are a little bit bigger, I cut it at 4.5 inches. there we go. That's what the shelf looks like when we put it in there. And we're ready to start putting some of our stains in there. Now they'll be much easier to find. We'll empty out one of our cabinets. This thing's going to work out great. I'm going to fill it up. I'll bring you back and take a look at it. Well, I have to say that I'm really happy with the way this little project turned out. When I'm ready to put things away, the fold-up workbench goes up. Just close the door, and you've got access to everything you need, and at the same time, it's nice and neat when it's put away. All right, we're going to call this project complete, and it came out pretty darn nice. I had a seam here that I wanted to cover, and so what I did was I just took some 1/4-inch lattice and used that as trim to cover this and around the outside, and just to make it look balanced, I added a second piece of trim in the middle up here, at the same distance from the top as this is from the bottom. So it came out looking really nicely. There's a little latch on the side here just to make sure that it stays closed. Open the door. You can see that I've got my fold-down workbench in here that I can get to pretty easily. But what's great is how I've organized my spray paints, my stains, my polyurethane, other kinds of paints, mineral spirits. It's all organized very nicely in here. I can look at the label and see exactly what I've got. Up top, I put a hanging rack for my paintbrushes, and there's still room up at the very top for frequently used items, and I'll probably find some things to put up there as well. But this project came out really well. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And thanks for watching. I always appreciate it. And don't forget to leave your comments down below. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have or take any suggestions that you might have as well. I'm sure there's different ways to do this and better ways to do this. If there are, tell me your ideas. Thanks again.